Germany's auto industry, long a symbol of the nation's economic might, is facing perhaps its toughest test in living memory. Profit slumps, cost cutting drives, and the spectre of tens of thousands of job cuts have set off alarm bells. Newspapers that once heralded record exports are now asking, is the car nation finished? It sounds unthinkable. I mean, this is Volkswagen, Mercedes-Benz, BMW we're talking about, the home of the automobile. Yet behind the dire headlines, opinions completely differ. Some insiders insist there's no true crisis, well, at least not yet, while others warn that Germany has missed the boat on the future of cars. So the big question today is what's really going on? And more importantly, where does Germany's car industry go from here? So, in today's deep dive, we'll explore the threats pushing this industrial titan to the brink, the fight back that's already underway, and ultimately whether Germany's automotive glory days are really behind it or are they just entering a new chapter. So, before we go any further, let's break down the three major challenges that have converged to threaten Germany's automotive stronghold. Starting with the first challenge, the EV revolution and a slow start. A technological tsunami has hit the car world in the form of electric vehicles, and initially, Germany was caught swimming against the tide. For years, German automakers were world beating when it came to refining the internal combustion engine, also known as ICE. They were so good at petrol and diesel engines that switching to battery power felt almost like betraying their identity. So while Tesla and a new wave of electric startups, especially in China, sprinted ahead, well, the German giants just hesitated. They lobbied to protect diesel and gasoline investments, and remember, Germany even fought hard to exempt certain ICE vehicles from the EU's 2035 combustion engine ban. And as a result, well, they came late to the EV party. Now, this slow start has serious consequences. Early movers like Tesla set the benchmarks in software, battery range, and autonomous driving areas, where German brands are still playing catch up. Even in their most critical market, China, German marquees lost ground because younger consumers saw Tesla, BYD, and NIO offering cutting edge tech and sleek electric designs, while, hey, some German models felt very dated. By the time Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes rolled out competitive electric cars, a chunk of tech savvy buyers had already switched their allegiance. So, in short, Germany's famous car makers slept through the early alarm bells of electrification, and now they're scrambling to reboot. They're investing billions in EV technology and software development, but making up lost time isn't easy, especially when the next threat was simultaneously on the horizon. So, on to the next challenge, and that was the Chinese offensive. Now, if electric cars shook Germany from one side, Chinese competition is pounding it from the other side. China is not only the world's largest car market, it's also the new heavyweight champion of electric vehicle manufacturing. Backed by years of hefty government subsidies and a hyper-competitive domestic market, Chinese automakers have achieved massive scale and rapid innovation. They've become experts at producing quality EVs at lower costs, and now they're aggressively entering Europe. At the recent Munich Auto Show, Chinese brands like BYD, XPeng, and MG, they made headlines by showcasing electric models loaded with tech and often priced thousands of euros less than comparable Volkswagens or Renaults. Now, for German car executives, this was a Sputnik moment, seeing foreign upstarts outshine them on their own home turf. Now, the threat isn't just in Europe. In China, a market that German luxury sedans and SUVs once dominated, local brands have eaten into German market share with affordable EVs that are tailored to Chinese consumers. A decade ago, Audi, BMW, and Mercedes ruled the streets of Beijing and Shanghai, but today They're fending off fierce competition from Chinese EVs that offer flashy touchscreens and advanced features at a fraction of the price. Now, this China shock has shaken the German industry's confidence. Suddenly, being the best at engineering isn't enough when rivals offer good enough cars for less and use home field advantage to undercut foreign imports. It truly is a stark reversal of fortune because the hunter has now become the hunted. German companies must now respond to an onslaught of Chinese imports in Europe and a loss of sales in the Far East. That's a double whammy that few anticipated at the start of the EV era. Now, on to the third challenge, which is the economic and policy headwinds. So, as if technological disruption and new competitors weren't enough, Germany's car sector is also buffeted by economic storms and policy pressures. High inflation and an energy crisis have driven up manufacturing costs in Germany, undermining one of the industry's traditional strengths, which is efficient production. The war in Ukraine cut off cheap Russian gas, and Germany's simultaneous phase out of nuclear power sent electricity prices absolutely soaring. So all of a sudden, it's far more expensive to build a car in Germany than in countries like, say, the US or China, where energy is far cheaper. Auto suppliers are crying out for relief, warning that if electricity and gas prices don't come down, many parts of the supply chain can become uncompetitive or actually even collapse. Then there's the global trade environment. Tariffs and trade wars have put Germany in a tough spot between superpowers. The United States, a key market for high-end German cars, has in recent years maintained an unexpectedly steep import tariff on European vehicles. On top of that, the US is luring the auto industry with massive subsidies for American-made EVs and batteries. Now, this means a company like BMW might save a lot of money building its next EV or battery plant in South Carolina rather than Bavaria. At the same time, China's market, once a goldmine for German brands, has cooled them, and Chinese authorities and consumers now favour homegrown electric cars. Policy pressures at home add another layer. The EU's climate regulations are demanding a rapid shift to zero-emission vehicles, essentially mandating the phase-out of new combustion cars by 2035. Now, while good for the planet, this timeline puts immense strain on automakers and their vast network of suppliers who need to transform or even perish. Many suppliers, from engine component makers to exhaust system firms, faced an existential crisis. Either pivot to EV components or see their business completely vanish. Yet adapting requires heavy investment now, in the midst of declining profits, which of course is a huge challenge. There's also criticism of bureaucracy and slow permitting process in Germany. Building a new battery factory or even updating production lines can be painfully slow due to red tape. So in short, Germany's auto industry is navigating a perfect storm: a costly transition, fierce foreign competition, and tough economic winds. Now, these threats are very real, but are they fatal? Well, not necessarily, because guess what? The fight back has begun. So despite all the doom and gloom, it's far too early to count out Germany's automotive giants. In this country, when their backs are against the wall, or hey, Germans double down on engineering excellence and pragmatic problem solving. In fact, there are actually 4 big reasons for hope that Germany's car industry can turn the ship around, and I'm going to run through them right now. So reason number 1, full throttle innovation. The most encouraging sign is that German automakers have truly awakened to the EV era. No more half measures or compliance token models. They're investing massive resources to catch up and even lead in electric technology. Volkswagen, for example, announced it will pour over 150 to 200 billion euros into electrification and digitalization this decade, pivoting its entire lineup to battery-powered models. It's launching a wave of new EVs across its brands, including VW, Audi, Porsche, and Skoda, aiming to cover every market segment. From the affordable VW ID.2 to luxury flagships like the electric Porsche Macan and the Audi Q8 e-tron, the Germans are plugging gaps in their lineup pretty quickly. Mercedes-Benz is committed to being almost all electric by 2030, rolling out stunning models like the EQS sedan and the EQE SUV and reimagining what an iconic S-Class and G-Wagon look like as EVs. BMW, meanwhile, is prepping a new generation of electric BMWs starting from 2025. Now, they promise cutting-edge batteries, futuristic retro-inspired design, and a leap in software capabilities. So these companies aren't just building electric cars, they're re-engineering their whole approach to car making, hiring software developers literally by the thousands, developing proprietary battery tech, and even designing their own operating systems. Sure, it's a tough road, but progress is visible. In short, Germany's auto industry has put its foot on the accelerator of innovation like never before. Now, the second reason here is policy and support and government action. So another reason for optimism is that policymakers in Berlin and Brussels have woken up to the stakes and are starting to lend support. After years of mostly letting the market sort things out, Europe is now moving towards a more protective and supportive stance for its industries. The European Union launched an investigation into Chinese EV imports, recognizing that state-subsidized cars flooding the market could undermine Europe's own manufacturers. Now, this is a likely prelude to tariffs or other trade defensives to ensure a level playing field. In Germany, political leaders are treating the auto sector's troubles as a national priority. The new chancellor has convened auto industry summits, bringing together car bosses, suppliers, and unions to hammer out solutions, from speeding up the rollout of charging infrastructure to easing regulatory burdens. There's even talks of tax breaks and energy subsidies specifically to help manufacturers and suppliers weather this transition. Now, crucially, Germany is rethinking its strict fiscal handcuffs to permit more public investment in future industries like EVs and batteries. In other words, the government is starting to put real skin in the game. Now, we're seeing early steps like co-funding battery gigafactories, grants for EV, R&D, and incentives for consumers to buy European-made EVs. Now, this kind of industrial policy activism was once taboo in free market Germany, but now it's becoming accepted wisdom that some states' help is needed to defend such a vital sector. And if it's done right, it could give German companies a fighting chance against subsidized rivals. On to reason number 3. Global partnerships and new strategies. Germany's car companies aren't trying to go it alone either. They're striking savvy partnerships across the globe to fill in gaps and to share costs. Now, realizing that Chinese firms have an edge in certain EV technologies, some German automakers have teamed up with them rather than simply fearing them. In 2023, Volkswagen took a stake in Chinese EV startup XPeng to jointly develop affordable electric models for the Chinese market. So basically, they're saying if you can't beat them, join them. Likewise, BMW has expanded its partnership with China's Great Wall Motors to produce the electric Mini and potentially other models, while Mercedes-Benz works with China's Geely, and it's leveraging Chinese battery suppliers to power its EVs. Now, these collaborations give German companies access to tech and cost advantages that they'd struggle to achieve alone as quickly. And it's not just China. German automakers are also partnering with American tech firms and others to boost the software and autonomous driving game. Mercedes, for instance, have struck a deal with NVIDIA to develop advanced car AI systems, and another with Google to integrate better navigation and mapping into its cars. Volkswagen has teamed up with Ford on autonomous tech and with Microsoft for cloud software in vehicles. So across the board, there's a recognition that the future of cars is as much about software, semiconductors, and batteries as it is about engines and chassis, and that means new alliances. Now, another strategic shift is diversifying production globally. Companies like BMW and Mercedes have long built factories in the US, China, and elsewhere. Now that's even more crucial to sidestep trade barriers. So, by manufacturing closer to the customer, German brands can remain competitive internationally. These global partnerships and a more flexible open strategy show that the industry is adopting its old playbook for a new era. So the fourth reason to note is the legacy strengths and a track record of comebacks. So one cannot dismiss the intrinsic strengths that Germany's auto industry still carries into the fight. These companies have some of the world's best engineering talent and a century of know-how in vehicle design, safety, and manufacturing efficiency. These core competencies don't vanish overnight. In fact, they can be tremendous assets when redirected towards new technology. Already we're seeing German innovation shine in areas like electric drivetrain efficiency, and BMW and Mercedes have developed EVs with impressively long ranges and low power consumption, and build quality for new energy vehicles prove that an electric car can still deliver that precise, solid German feel that enthusiasts love. German brands also command a strong global image and customer loyalty, especially in the premium market. A tech entrepreneur in California or a banker in Shanghai might be intrigued by a Lucid or a Neo, but many still aspire to own a Mercedes or a Porsche for that blend of luxury and heritage. That brand equity is a powerful cushion. It gives German automakers a bit of breathing room to get their EV act together because consumers are inclined to give them a chance based on their past reputation. Moreover, history is full of moments when Germany's car companies were said to be done for, only for them to roar back. In the 70s, the oil crisis and Japanese small car invasion posed an existential threat to gas-guzzling German sedans. The Germans responded by innovating in fuel efficiency and doubling down on upscale quality, carving out a defensible niche. In the 1990s and 2000s, competition from Lexus and the rise of Silicon Valley tech in cars again forced reinvention, and the Germans adapted with world-leading diesel tech and improvements in electronics. Each time people wrote them off, and each time the Germans found a way through. And there's a saying, the German automotive industry has been written off more than once, yet it has uncanny ability to reinvent itself under pressure, and we're seeing signs of that right now. A more nimble, self-critical approach where even top executives admit past mistakes and they vow to do better. This cultural shift, combined with resources and knowledge accumulated over decades, means Germany's car industry still has plenty of fight left. So the big question is, what do you think about it all? Is the German auto industry finished, or is it just about to catch a second breath and take over the world again when it comes to luxury EVs? I'll keep you posted, my fellow car enthusiasts, and in the meantime, I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great day.